up until this point in your mathematical careers, you have dealt with positive numbers and zero. You have only dealt with positive numbers and zero. Now we're going to integrate negative numbers into your life. They are going to be with you now and forever. They will haunt you like a bad dream. To start off with our negative numbers, we're going to use the number system called integers. Now, integers are all positives, all negatives, and zero. There are no fractions and no decimals. Those are going to come, but we're not there yet. Please note that a negative means opposite of. So anytime you see the word negative, it is going to mean opposite of. Now, one thing that makes negatives difficult is just knowing the terminology. So words that you will see that mean positive are things like receives, makes money, sells, deposits, credit, income, profit, gain, won, hire, increases, raises, above, over. Deposits and credits in years past have been words that students may or may not have known, as well as profit. So just be aware that if you see those words mean, hey, it's going to be a positive number. Come down to the next section, it says words that mean negative. Spends, pays, owes, costs, buys, withdraws, overdrafts, debit, expenses, deducts, loss, lower, decreases, below, under, lowers, drops. All of those mean negatives. So if you ever see those, just know it's going to be a negative number. When it comes to deposits, credit, profit, withdraws, overdraft, debit, those are all words dealing with money and bank accounts. Now, at the bottom of that is a number line. And it's important to note that on this number line, it shows that zero is in the middle. Zero does not always have to be in the middle. And that's kind of a misconception that students have that they have learned over the course of their mathematical careers, is that zero always has to be in the middle, and it doesn't. Notice that -1 and +1 are on either side of the zero, and then it goes out from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and then -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 to the left. We can think of it that if we go to the right, things are going to get larger. And if we go to the left, things are going to get smaller. So our brains tell us that 5 is more than 3. Well, since negative means opposite, when we see -5 and -3, we have to go -5 is smaller than -3. This idea that the larger to the right, smaller to the left, is going to be something that is going to cause a lot of y'all confusion. And so hopefully if we can figure it out now, it should get to be easier the more that we work with them. Going on to the next page, we're going to start with modeling integers. If you go home and talk to your parents about this, they're going to go, what the heck are you doing? Because they've never seen some of these before, especially the heaps and holes one. So just be aware that your parents are going to be very, very unhelpful when it comes to modeling, and that your best chance of getting assistance is going to be to ask your teacher for help. So, starting off with symbols. One way to model integers is by drawing symbols. We write a plus sign to represent every time it's a positive number and a minus sign to represent each time it's a negative number. So starting off with the positive, we want to represent the number 5. To represent the number 5, that means we need 5 plus signs. And hopefully yours look a little prettier than mine do. Then when we go to represent -3, we use a minus sign to represent each negative number. That means we need 3 negatives. Ta-da! You have just modeled your first 2 integers. Yay! Okay, now we're going to go to one that's extremely visual. It's called heaps and holes. You will notice that for both 5 and -3, but let's focus on 5 for right now, we have drawn a horizontal line. That is the first step. Now, we're then going to draw semicircles. If it is above the line, that means it's a positive number, just like a heap of dirt on the ground. If it's a negative number, we represent that with a hole, meaning it's a semicircle below the line, because it's a hole in the ground. We'll talk about when we put a heap and a hole together later on, but for right now, Heaps are positive because it's a heap of dirt above the ground. Holes are negative because it's a hole in the ground, so it's below the ground. Here are those words above and below again. To represent 5, we have 5 heaps. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To represent -3, that's 3 holes in the ground. So 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Now, the number line is going to be the one that most of y'all are going to be familiar with. This is also going to be the model that most of your parents are familiar with. There's a few different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you how I like to do it just because I think it makes the most sense. Starting off with the number 5, we are always going to start at 0. So I put a dot above 0. Some people like to draw a line at 0. If you like to do that, that's fine. Then we want to draw an arrow to the right because we're going in a positive direction. So we go all over to 5, and notice that the arrow stops at 5. Ta-da! That is how you model +5 on the number line. To model -3, once again, we're going to start at 0, and we're going to go down to -3 and stop. That is how you model -3 on the number line. Positive to the right, negative to the left.